Coming up on Transformers University, we're going to fight a giant plant and check out an explosion on Mars. It's all right now as we cover the Headmasters cartoon on Transformers University. Hello, my friend, and welcome to episode 121 of Transformers University. I am your host, Anthony Brucali, owner-operator, madman behind TFU.INFO, the website, the toy archive, this podcast, TFU News and Views podcast, and oh so much more. I want to welcome you to the long-awaited 121st episode of Transformers University. If you go back a couple episodes on TFU News and Views, I explained a little bit what the delay was on Transformers University. These particular Headmaster cartoon episodes do take a while to put together. So, I'm not going to talk too much about that process. You can check out the News and Views episode if you really want to hear about it. I'm going to hop right into what we're going to talk about today, and that is episodes 13, 14, and 15 of Transformers Headmasters. Of course, we will talk about the dubs, we will talk about the subs, and we will talk about all the silliness and fun and story that we have here. And episode 13 is called Head On, Fortress Maximus. We start with the Headmaster Autobots, and they are bored in space.
Space!
On Earth, a giant plant erupts from the ground in San Francisco.
The plants are attacking people! They're killing people!
And yes, the plants are killing people. Ultra Magnus sends in the Technobots, the Aerobots, and the Trainbots to rescue people. But also there is Bruticus.
I've been waiting for you for a very long time. Die!
Raiden and Bruticus fight in a little bit of a lightsaber battle, and Menasor also shows up. Ultra Magnus radios the Headmaster Autobots, and 311, they are ready to fight. Back on Cha'ar, we find Scorponok basking in his plan's success, the plant, that is, and the Headmaster Autobots sense that this plant is a trap. Back on Athena, or Sydney, as the dub calls it, Daniel is checking on his gardening. A flower sprouts out of the ground, just like the one on Earth, and Wheelie has an opinion.
These are evil flowers!
And of course, they can't stop the plant, so they flee. Back on Earth, the Headmaster Autobots arrive and fight Flower with Flower? No. They fight the Flower, and the Headmaster Decepticons also arrive. The Flower is out of control and attacks Exposition Base on Athenia. The plant on Earth, that plant attacks the Headmaster Bot's ship. It downs the ship, and the Autobots get shot out by the Decepticons. On the ship, Cerebros is able to pull out the Master Sword from the computer console. This transforms the ship, which looks a lot like Fortress Maximus, into a robot called Fortress Maximus. And now we learn about the Master Sword.
Master Sword is the king of all swords. Only a man of justice and integrity is able to use it. And he was to use superpowers. And after using it, he will become very weak for a time.
Fortress Maximus takes down the man-eating plant by cutting it down. And then back on Sydney, that plant explodes. And the Headmaster Autobots return to Exposition Base. The end. Not a lot of meat in this episode. Kind of your monster of the week sort of episode. It doesn't necessarily push the plot along, but it was fun. It was a fun little romp. Nice to see some of these characters animated. The big plot point here is that Fortress Maximus makes his first major appearance in this series. But that will lead into what we're going to talk about in the next two episodes. And then let's just get right to it. Episode 14, Explosion on Mars. Maximus is in danger. That's the official title. Now, the Shout Factory version would call this Explosion on Mars. Fortress Maximus is in danger. Or as the Omni Productions dub calls it,
Mars explodes. Watch out, Fortress Maximus.
Yes, watch out, Fortress Maximus, because we're going to begin on Mars.
Mars is the fourth largest planet in the solar system. It is more than 50% bigger than Earth.
Now, both of those statements are totally false. Mars is not the fourth largest planet, nor is it 50% bigger than Earth. In fact, it is 50% smaller than Earth and is the second smallest planet in the solar system. So good job on Omni Productions for not doing any sort of scientific research, much less understanding the translation of what they had. Why is Mars important? I don't know, but we just watch it blow up. The Decepticons blow it up.
Wait a minute. Statue of Liberty. That was our planet! You maniacs! You blew it up! Damn you! Damn you all to hell!
Only we find out that's just a simulation, and the Decepticons have plans. Now, their plan is to blow up Mars and gather all the energy from the explosion. Daniel, Wheelie, and Spike happen to be on Mars on a geological survey with the train bots. There is an explosion at the South Pole of Mars, and the train bots, Daniel, Wheelie, Spike, they all go to investigate, and they spot Hunger and Rippersnapper. They relay this to Ultra Magnus, who then sends the Technobots to Mars, but they get attacked by Trypticon on Earth before they can even get off of Earth. Metroplex and Sixshot will join that fight, and in Ultra Magnus viewing this fight, there is Jazz seen at one of the controls. This is actually the final appearance of Jazz in the cartoon.
Oh, Jazz.
Now on Mars, Spike is being attacked by the Predacons, along with some of the other train bots, as the Autobot Headmasters arrive to help them. Elsewhere, Daniel, Wheelie, and Shoki are still spying, and Shoki gets shot in the back as Wheelie and Daniel get captured by the Terracons. The Headmaster Autobots with Spike defeat Predaking, but Daniel and Wheelie are in jail, and while they're in jail, they hear the Terracons talking with the Headmaster Decepticons, and they learn of the plan to blow up Mars. And in this, Daniel pictures the after effects. Daniel and Wheelie picture the effects of an exploding Mars and what that would do to Earth and debris and things flying into Earth. And one of the images in here, which is kind of disturbing years after, is that one of the images is Mars debris hitting the Twin Towers and destroying the World Trade Center. So almost like a foreshadowing of real life events. Yeah, it's kind of messed up in some ways. And back on Earth, Metroplex defeats Trypticon, Sixshot defeats Computron, and now 311, these two are ready to fight each other. In jail, Daniel and Wheelie fake a fight with each other. This is to throw off the guards. And what happens is Wheelie takes Daniel's Autobot symbol off his exosuit and throws it into the bars, which shorts out the bars enough to send a radio signal because of the Autobot symbol, to give Spike their location. The Headmaster Autobots then go and rescue Daniel and Wheelie informs them of the Mars plan. The Headmaster Autobots then inform Cerebros. Cerebros takes the Fortress Maximus ship to Mars with RC and Carly. Where were they this whole time? They had missed the train to Mars due to being fight the Headmaster Decepticons. The Autobots, they want the location of the bombs, and eventually Skullcruncher gives it up.
All right, I'll talk. It's right inside the mud hole, you see.
No, don't worry. That word was mud hole. I certainly did not hear mud hole the first 2 times I listened to that. But it turns out the mud hole is a trap, and the Autobots are surrounded by guns and keep getting shot until Fortress Maximus arrives. Cerebros tries to pull the Master Sword out of the computer to transform Fortress Maximus, but doesn't do it at first because it's not the right time. Eventually, he's able to, and uses the sword to defeat the Decepticons' defenses. But the sword is drained, and so is Cerebros. And that ends part 1. Hey, want to help out this podcast or the website TFU.INFO? There's a number of ways you can do it. Let me tell you how. You can help us directly by joining our Patreon and enrolling as a student at Transformers University. There, you'll get early access to the podcast as well as exclusive behind-the-scenes peeks and perks for as little as $1 a month. Sign up is quick and easy. Just swing on by to www.patreon.com/TFU.INFO. Another way you can help us is by using our Amazon link, www.tfu.info/Amazon. Type that into your browser whenever you want to shop at Amazon, and a portion of what you spend will be contributed back to us. It's that easy. Finally, you don't become the world's longest running transforming toy archive without some help from other fans. We're always on the hunt for photos of figures and accessories we're missing from our pages. If you'd like to contribute, go to tfu.info/help for a list of what we need, or send an email to info@tfu.info. tfu.info, the Alpha Trion and Omega Prime of transforming toys. Now, back to the show. As we go on to episode number 15, Explosion on Mars, Mega Zarak appears. The official title. And it's kind of a part 2, right? Because the other one was also Explosion on Mars. The Shout Factory version is Explosion on Mars, Scorponok appears. And of course, then there's the Omni Productions version.
Mars explodes. The Scorpion appears.
Now, before we get into episode 15, one thing I failed to talk about for episode 14 that I would like to mention here, plus also carries over into episode 15, is the opening title sequence. Now, it doesn't change drastically, but the title sequences for this, and it's in the Shout Factory DVDs, feature flickering Decepticons. They kind of flicker like the contrast is being turned up on them over and over. And so what that was part of is actually part of a promotional tie-in with a toy called the Video Challenger Light Gun System. And so kids had this gun, and they could point it at the screen and try to shoot the flashing Decepticons, very similar to the Zapper on an old NES system. And so this thing would pick up the signal and then give you points. And so if you shot the Decepticons more than they shot you, you got a point total on that light gun. That light gun was later distributed in Canada as the Video Challenger, and then in North America as part of the Captain Power line. Big shout out to TF for all that information as well. So the gun itself is called the Challenge Blaster, and Daniel actually carries one in the show, and is sometimes seen playing the game in front of the television. So from the theme song into the episode, we find out that Fortress Maximus is drained of energy, stranded on Mars. We also find out that Brainstorm and Highbrow are being repaired and are badly injured, and the bombs are ready to go, and so is Zarak.
I'm gonna blow up Mars together with Fortress Maximus.
And so he fantasizes about blowing up Mars with Fortress Maximus on it. The remaining Headmaster Autobots, Chrome Dome and Hardhead, find the Decepticons planting the third bomb. Meanwhile, over at Exposition Base, RC and company send over the robot train, that is the train bots, to Mars. Now, there's a really cool transformation sequence here of watching the train bots turn into trains and then combine as the robot train. Now, the fight on Mars continues, and eventually the robot train gets there and Raiden joins in. The Headmaster Decepticons are ordered back to base, the Scorpion base at this point, and they report back to Ultra Magnus. Everybody reports back to Ultra Magnus, and he sends Twincast to spy on the Decepticons. He uses Steeljaw and Rewind to attack the base, which is being guarded by Dirge and Thrust. And Dirge has this amazing observation.
Hey, the enemy's here!
And with that, Rewind and Steeljaw sneak in, and they find out Six Shot and a bunch of Decepticons are headed to Ch'ar for a big meeting. So Twincast and his friends, they follow Six Shot to the space bridge, wait for him to go up, and then hitch a ride on the space bridge themselves up to Ch'ar to go check out the meeting. There, Zarak reveals what he has been working on.
This is my work of art. It's finally completed. This is the Scorpion.
And for us fans in the West, it is Scorponok. So the Scorponok Transtector, the body is called Mega Zarak. In Japan, it's called the head is called Zarak, and for us in the West, it was Scorponok. And our narrator explains a bit more.
The new weapon that Scorponok has been talking about is the Scorpion, a massive defense base which can be transformed into a battleship. It's now heading towards Jolo.
With that, Sound Blaster decides what the Decepticons should do.
Let's go and welcome Scorponok now. Yeah, come on.
But on his way out, he spots Twincast, and the two fight. And then we have this great cassette fight with Steeljaw and Rewind and Ramhorn and Rumble, the yellow one. There's a miscolored Rumble character model here. It's yellow and black. It's really cool. Why that hasn't been made into a toy yet, I don't know, but someone should really start banging the drum for that. The Autobots escape just as Scorponok arrives. On Mars, Cerebros finds out about Scorponok's existence and vows to destroy him, and gets a message from Chrome Dome about the bomb's location.
Commander! Commander! We've discovered where they planted the bombs!
Really?
Raiden and Abominus continue their fight on Mars as Zarek heads to Mars with Scorponok. The Headmaster Autobots begin to defuse the bombs, and Brainstorm and Highbrow rejoin as Scorponok arrives. Scorponok sends the Headmaster Decepticons to check on the bombs. The Headmaster Autobots then are distracted fighting Scorponok, the battle station, and Raiden joins into that fight. Fortress Maximus, stuck in his base mode, can't do a thing about it, so Scorponok transforms into robot mode and starts stomping on Fortress Maximus.
Scorponok's new weapon is transformed from a scorpion into a massive robotic fighter, and it's pounding heavily on Fortress Maximus. Fortress Maximus has no energy left to fight back. He can only sit there and wait to die.
Well, Fortress Maximus, aren't you gonna fight back?
Then Scorponok gives the order to blow up Mars. And, of course, he's going to speechify.
Fortress Maximus, do you hear that noise? Soon Mars will vanish from the universe. And you won't get any more energy from it. Because today you're gonna die. Say your last prayers. Goodbye!
And with that, Zarek and Scorponok and the Decepticons flee, and the planet begins to explode. Cerebros, he's deciding he's going to go down with his ship, his Fortress Maximus ship. And all of a sudden, the ship has some energy.
The energy generated by the explosions has been absorbed by Fortress Maximus's battle station.
So what happens? Mars explodes, and Fortress Maximus escapes in robot mode to fight the Decepticons. But the Decepticons flee, the Autobots are sad, and Mars, as we know it, is gone. And with that, we wrap up a lot of the major plot points in Headmasters from the beginning of the season, from the construction of Scorponok. No mention of what the Beast Planet folks are doing now that they've finished building Scorponok. The mysterious Zarek Scorponok figure has essentially been revealed. Fortress Maximus has been revealed. All the things they've been leading up to here all culminate by the end of this episode, leaving the show to wonder where it's going to go next, right? Overall, this is kind of an important two-parter for the series, and I mean, might be the really big, most worthwhile two-parter, but it's also a second planet that has gotten blown up. First Cybertron, now Mars. What's next? How many more planets get blown up in the series? I don't know. I've never watched it. So follow along with me, and we will find out.
Thanks for listening to the show. Stick around to hear what's coming up next episode, but first, I want to fill you in on a few ways you can stay in touch with the show. Want to be on the show? Leave us a voicemail at 702-763-4838. That's 702-POD-4TFU. Or send an email to info@TFU.INFO. Be sure to catch us on Twitter at TFU_info and on Facebook and Instagram under the username TFU.INFO, all one word. Also, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/TFU.INFO, where we post all of our podcasts plus special video segments, reviews, and live coverage of Transformers-related events such as New York Toy Fair and New York Comic-Con. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please visit us at www.tfu.info, the world's longest-running transforming toy archive.
And with that, we will wrap up episode 121 of Transformers University. I hope it was worth the wait. Next time on the show, we're going to skip away from Headmasters episodes for a little bit, and we're going to talk about online fandom and merchandise in 1987. And I don't know how much online fandom there was in 87, but we'll dig around and see what we can find. And then there were most certainly a lot of pieces of merch in 87 in the US, in Japan. We'll talk about the most interesting stuff. I don't know if we'll talk about all of it, but we'll find out the most interesting, weird, wacky stuff that we can find and bring it to you in episode 122 of Transformers University. So until then, I am your host, Anthony Brucali, owner, operator, madman behind TFU.INFO. Till next time, see ya.